Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand new series here on Maconi Entertainment. Tonight is round one of the eStockCar World Series, a new league from champion iRacing off-road racer Connor Berry and sponsored by Maconi Setup Shop. My name is Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth tonight will be Will Tiller and Ryan Bauer, aka the Bearded Sim Racer. Well, whatever you call him, he's the best in the business working the controls as our producer tonight. And the camera angles, as always, being provided by Dougie Beard. Tonight we kick off this brand new series with the first race featuring the trucks at Daytona, with every competitor running a Maconi Setup Shop setup. Daytona is a legendary track filled with action at every lap and plenty of space to let it all play out. Expect to see a lot of slingshot moves and bump drafting as these drivers will try to tame every lane on this racetrack. Will, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Daytona and some of the action that we're going to see here tonight?
Yeah, this is everybody's favorite track. Daytona is 2.5-mile D-shaped oval located in a beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. Track was established in 1959 with the road course built in 1966. Long straightaways into steeply banked curve, 31 degrees in the corners and 18 degrees on the tri-oval. Also 3 degrees banking on the backstretch, so the track is never quite flat. And we know, Joey, that this track opens the door for very competitive racing. We'll see 3 wide, we'll see big passes, we'll see crazy finishes at the end of this track here tonight. Nothing gets better than a season started at Daytona.
It's always a great place to kick off some action-packed racing no matter what cars you're in, and like we mentioned, tonight's going to be the NASCAR Trucks. And taking a look at the schedule, I mentioned it, this is round one tonight. This is a brand new series called the eStockCar World Series, and if you want to come out and compete in it, the registration is still open, so you can come out and find these guys and sign up and come out and compete. We're here at Daytona, and we're looking at this whole schedule here. You look, goes through Las Vegas, Atlanta, Coda, get some road course racing, Darlington, one of my favorites, Bristol Dirt, going back to another Talladega super speedway there, more road course with Sonoma, Homestead, and then look at that, you even have a little chase with the round of 12, round of 8, and then the championship 4, kind of headed over to Phoenix Raceway, just like the real thing. And I know that we're really excited here on Maconi Entertainment to be bringing you this entire series. We can't wait to see how the championship plays out, especially with how that all goes on with the playoffs there. And looking at tonight's race, we are at Daytona. We're doing 60 laps here, and to keep the realism factor up, these guys are going to be doing 3 stages. Stage 1 will end at lap 15. Stage 2 will end at lap 35 there, just 20 laps after, and then it will be another 25-lap sprint to the finish to end at lap 60. All of these competitors will have one fast repair available to them. Hopefully they don't have to use it out there, but always nice to have in the pocket, especially at a track like Daytona, when usually when you're involved in something, it tends to be pretty big. And then just in case things get a little messy at the end, 3 green-white-checkered attempts. And as always, every competitor out there tonight is on a fixed setup that's being provided by Maconi Setup Shop. So you know that these cars, or I should say trucks, are going to be very hooked up and in the racetrack out there. And if you're interested in any of these Maconi Setup Shops setups, head on over to www.maconisetupshop.com. Check out those subscriptions, and they too can get you hooked up just like the trucks that you are going to see out here tonight, Will.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait for this action to start. It's a bit of a shootout with only 6 laps here tonight, Joey, but we talked about it off air. Different strategies are going to come into play here. We're interested to see if these drivers can make it the whole way on those fuel tanks. They can make it all the way on those tires as well. We'll probably see a lot of pitting under those stage brakes, as we'll have stage brakes during this race here tonight. So I'm curious to see not only which strategies play out, but which drivers stand out as well in this first race of the season.
Now, to catch everybody up to what's on speed going on the racetrack, is just qualifying going on right now, and it looks like we have 30 drivers that are going to be competing here tonight, but it is solo qualifying at a super speedway, so they're just going around doing their lap times by themselves and getting all of their time set. It looks like currently provisional, it's Blake Reynolds on the board with a provisional pole time of 52.03 is what I'm seeing. But if you're interested in any more action here on this Maconi Entertainment channel, head on over to Fast Fridays, which is a really fun race every Friday that Maconi Entertainment puts on. Up next here on the 6th, you're going to see a custom fix set up here. All of these races are going to be under an hour in length, so easy, nice log in the afternoon, get a race under your belt. They're completely free, and they're also broadcasted here on Maconi Entertainment. A great way to start off your Friday evening. Well, it looks like we've got the official grid set here, and it is right. It looks like Blake Reynolds right now sitting on pole in the number 66 machine. Joining him on the front row is going to be Nate Stewart. In the third place, we have Hayes Booth, followed with Gary Sack III. Barrett Holimus there in the top 5. Connor Berry, the very familiar name there in the 6th position. Brian Toller in the 7th spot. Matthew Jarrett, 8th position. Paul Mikulajic there in 9th. And Sean Williams rounds out the top 10. Will?
I'll throw it on over. We got Nicholas Delchet right there in 11th. Eric Whitner in 12th in that 75 machine. In 13th, we have Tyler Green in the 69. Joey Masvidich is going to roll off in the 14th position. Christopher Faduk right there in 15th. Ashley Lyle in 16th. Chris Dickerson in 17th. Keaton Swain in 18th. 19th position is going to be Oliver Golding right there. 20th is going to be Troy Nelson. I'll throw it on over to you for 21st position.
Yeah, here in 21st, we have Anthony Marsh, followed with Zachary Drapkin, Shane Williamson in 23rd, Lee Norton 24th, Matthew Hoffert rounding out the top 25, Lance Marsh in 26th position, Brady Price in 27th, Patrick O'Toole, Nathan Ramsey, and then Zach Wheeler rounding out the all 30 cars, or I'm sorry, I'm going to say it a lot of times. You're going to have to correct me a lot tonight. 30 trucks we are seeing out here tonight.
Yes, sir, Joey. It's a bit of a tricky situation with the trucks and the cars. But Joey, last night was a nightmare night for all sports fans, especially with Damar Hamlin and Buffalo Bills suffering cardiac arrest on Monday Night Football. But all of us in the motorsports community suffered a great loss as well. A true pioneer, a legend in this sport, an innovator in this sport as well. A guy that we have all grown up watching, whether it was in the Rallycross series, whether it was playing the dirt racing video games as well, through the X Games series. Joey, we lost Ken Block last night in a snowmobile accident. A guy that, like I said, shaped motorsports across all series. So in honor of the man, the legend himself, the number 43 driver, we're going to take a moment of silence here as these drivers get ready to start off this race here tonight. And rest easy, Ken. Burn it down up there. And man, what a loss for the motorsports community.
What a legend we lost last night indeed with Ken Block, and I know that all of our thoughts and prayers are with the Block family in this time of sorrow and grieving. Well, looks like we have our entire 30 truck field lined up 2 by 2, Will. They're rounding out a turn 4 real quick. Any final thoughts?
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see how this race plays out. I know especially at Daytona, we're going to see that tandem racing play out. Which drivers can survive these 60 laps at Daytona?
Well, the pace car has pulled off. The field is in the hands of Blake Reynolds. He accelerates, and Barney the flagman has the green flag in the air. We are green at Daytona.
Pretty clean so far, Joey, as we head down the backstretch down to corner number 3. See the drivers already trying to find those windows on the racetrack. Nothing's changed so far on the grid. We have clear leaders, though, with Reynolds in the 66 booth in the 5 right now on the inside lane, coming into 3 and 4.
Yeah, looks like the 66 of Blake Reynolds has a pretty good push from the number 5 of Hayes Booth behind him, but what's really interesting to see is about halfway down the back straightaway, the top lane really started to form some momentum up there, and it looks like Nate Stewart is being pushed by what I believe is Gary Sack III right now up in that upper groove. And really interesting because this top groove is starting to form up and have some good organization really with these top 3 or 4 cars. And
oof.
Honestly, Will, it stayed 2 by 2 all the way back through 10 plus rows now.
No, and Joey, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that top side stay as cohesive as possible. You want to see them stick together in that line. The more the drivers start to file out, feel those different air pockets, the more that line's going to lose speed. We've seen so many races here at Daytona. The inside lane's always the fast track lane because it's so much easier to stick together on the inside lane and push it across as we're crossing the start-finish line right now. Lap number 2 in the books as we head down to corner number 1 right now, Joey. But as you mentioned, we're still side by side. No advantage so far as we hit the apex of 1 and 2.
Yeah, you see here in the corners, the cars in the lower line and the lower groove will definitely stretch out the advantage a little bit, but then once you come out to the straightaways, the momentum seems to carry in the outside lane. And one thing that I'm noticing is that Gary Sack, he's pushing Nate Stewart in the outside lane, and he just doesn't seem to have the stability in the car. Now, I don't think that has to do anything with the air moving around. He's just trying to find exactly where Nate Stewart is going to be, and we're getting a great shot. This is riding along with Connor Berry right now, looking ahead at Gary Sack, and you see Gary just moving around a little bit, but he's trying to push Nate as much as he can without getting into him too hard.
And you see right there, Sack right there right in that pocket is almost uncomfortable, Joey. You see him weaving back and forth, trying to find that right groove to push the 14 along that Stewart right there in that 14. And sometimes drivers can get uncomfortable in that pocket, Joey. You start to feel the air coming off the car in front of you from the car behind you, and it's not the most comfortable feeling right there in that middle lane, but you see that 58 solid right there in that position. That's where you see the outside lane push it a little bit more forward, but you see how close together this inside lane is there, Joey. I think this inside track, as long as they can stick together, they'll always have the advantage around the corners.
Yeah, riding on board with Brett Polamus right now, as you see, doing almost 190 miles an hour as they go through the trioval. This is actually one of the sketchiest parts on the racetrack for these trucks, is just a little bit less banked trioval, and then also it seems to always get busy 3 wide in the trioval for some reason. It just seems to be a place where moves are made, and I think it might be because the start-finish line is there.
Yeah, and Barrett Polhemus right there in that truck earned the moniker in another series, Darth Vader, because of the paint schemes that he rocks with the red and black, especially on this truck here tonight, coming off a series championship win not too many weeks ago before that holiday season. So Barrett's coming into this series, this league, wanting to show his stuff as well in that 79. That's Darth Vader there in that second position.
Yeah, and I have to give a shout out because I miscalled Gary Sack, and moving around a lot. It's actually Nate Stewart that's the one that's pushing, that seems a little bit uneasy there in the top groove. And it looks like we have a yellow flag on the racetrack. We're going to have to take a look at what's going on, but it seems like the number 19, Troy Nissen, is having a few problems here going into turn 1. This must have developed somewhere out of the trioval, I would assume.
Joey, I think we just saw a game of Jenga right there. The 19 truck somehow, some way went completely sideways, and nobody else in the field made contact with him. We're going to watch it here on this replay. Yeah, nobody else makes contact with the 19. The 19 gets the worst of it there. No damage done, though, to that truck. Just a little bit, probably a little bit of anger issues inside of that cockpit right now, because it looks like he may have gotten clipped on that fender. We'll see it right here on this replay, Joey. It looks like the 85 is going to creep up to his side, to the 17. That's 50-50 to me there, Joey.
No, I'm going to say that the 19 was definitely up in the upper lanes. He was claimed up in the upper lanes, and the lower groove definitely had a run. And I think that he came down to try to move in front of that lower lane, but it was too late. That car was already there, and unfortunately just kind of spun himself over the nose of that car. And Like I said, I do want to give a apology to Nate Stewart and Gary Sack there. I was miscalling you guys there for the first 5 or 6 laps, and I promise I got it all right here with the car numbers on the screen. But right now, it is Hayes Booth, our current leader, over Blake Reynolds. Nate Stewart in the 3rd position. Barrett Polomus there, we were riding on board with in the 4th, and now Gary Sack in the number 58 truck, rounding out the top 5, getting some good on board here with Hayes Booth, your current leader. Pretty awesome checkered flag. I mean, hey, if you got that many checkered flags in the room, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to collect a virtual one tonight.
I'm saying, rocking a very holiday-themed truck here tonight as well. The holiday season just ended. We're already in the 3rd of January. The only holiday we have to look forward to, Joey's Valentine's Day, is the only thing we got coming up.
Yeah, you know, we almost had a fake out from the field, and it looks like we've got one car that's going to be coming down pit road here. I'm not sure. It looks like maybe Joey Masevich is the car that comes down pit road right now. Going to watch him to see if he takes any tires or if he's just going to take fuel in this one. Here's another on board. This is Nate Stewart. Pretty awesome rig that he's got going on right there. That is our 3rd place runner. It didn't look like Joey Masevich took any tires there on pit road, just fuel. And I bring up the tires because these drivers have 3 sets of tires available to them tonight, but only 2 stage brake cautions. So I would assume most of the strategy is going to be pit during the stage brake cautions.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. We spoke about that off air before we started this broadcast here tonight. I was almost thinking there on lap 7 whether we'd see some drivers head down to make it to the end of stage number 1, which would be lap 15. But I'm thinking that's a bit early of a window there. I think, as you mentioned there, we'll have more guys head down pit road, maybe stage 2, or if that continues through, if drivers are going to pit under green between stages 2 and the end of the race. It's curious to see how these drivers are going to strategize to get those pit stops out of the way.
Well, sometimes they're scheduled pit stops, and sometimes you got to get your radio fixed. And in the cars, I'm sure you've seen them on TV. Sometimes they have radio issues, and they got to come in and swap radios. Well, Joey Masevich was out there having some radio problems out there and had to come in and join his radio team in the booth. But now that he's got everything plugged in, I'm happy to report he is back out there on the racetrack. And lights are still on the pace car right now, so they're going to be coming up to probably one more lap to go. Then we should get back going. And something else to note, Will, stage 1 ends at the end of lap 15. We're going to be going green here at lap 10 of 60, so it'll be a quick 5-lap shootout to the end of stage 1.
Yeah, I love it, Joey. It's a shootout to lap 15 here. What we've seen so far, though, is we've seen very respectable racing so far. Nobody really pushing the envelope. We saw it right there before that caution went out. That was almost 3 wide. We had some moving parts going on there right before that caution flag flew. So let's see here at the end of stage number 1, if we're going to see that again, if these drivers are going to try to push that envelope a little bit more, try to fight for position a little bit more, or will we see the more calm and cool and collected racing we've seen so far?
Well, 5 laps at Daytona. I was really impressed with this entire field that they really stayed 2 by 2. A few of them moved down towards that lower line, but I don't think that we're going to see too much aggression right now. I think that we might see a few moves out of people just trying things, but given that we're only going to be working really lap 10 through 15 here, I would expect them to stay pretty clean. Now, I say that all these trucks do have one fast repair that they have available to them. I don't know if I want to pull that out of my wallet quite yet, though.
No, I would sit on that just like a get out of jail free card Monopoly there, Joey. I would wait until the very last moment, the very last hour of that Monopoly game to pull it out, especially if something very late in this race happens. You know, we always know at Daytona there's going to be a late race incident that could collect the leaders, could collect most of the field. So I think that's the time where you want to pull out that fast repair.
Pace car has ducked down to pit road. Hayes Booth is on the gas, and we got the green flag in the air from Barney the Flag Man. We are racing under the lights once again here at Daytona International Speedway. Looks like Blake Reynolds joins Hayes Booth all the way down there on that lower yellow line, and now he dips back up to the upper groove. It looks like he's found his drafting partner up there, and now they're taking advantage of that high momentum. Nate Stewart is being pushed by Blake Reynolds, and Barrett Podium is there in the third place, followed by what looks like Brian Toller makes it a 4-car train down the back straightaway.
And there goes Barrett Podium to the inside there in that 79 truck. What a move from Reynolds though in that 66 to go low side all the way up to the high side, find his partners and form that high side lane. Now we have a side-by-side battle to the start-finish line right now. Barrett Podium on the inside. We have Reynolds on the 66 on the outside right there. See if the inside lane can build back up. It's not going to be enough though as we head down to corner number 1 still, as Reynolds 66 is leading the way down to the corner.
I'm not surprised to see Keaton Swain just out the middle lane, and look at him go all the way up. He's going to be in second place, maybe even challenge for the lead if he gets down on the low groove here, which he is. He cuts down in front of the 79 of Barrett Podium. Keaton Swain all the way up to second place, but more importantly, leading that lower groove. Now Barrett is actually going to take it 3 wide through the middle and go around Keaton using that momentum. And I'm seeing a lot of familiar off-road names: Keaton Swain, Connor Berry, Nicholas Dashley out there. These are some of the most aggressive and fastest off-road racers on dirt in this iRacing service, and great to see them out here in the other truck on iRacing.
And these are full send drivers too, because Joey, I don't see those moves pulled off too often in any of the series that I call. These drivers are not worried about that danger zone lane, as I like to say. They're shooting the gaps left and right. Barrett Podium just did it. Now he's leading the race around corner number 2 to his back stretch. Woo! Man, what another crazy move from Barrett Podium. Go all the way to the high side, link up with Reynolds. Reynolds doesn't like it though, as Barrett Podium is going to get loose on the back stretch. Going to keep it cool though. Here comes the 5 truck of Booth. He's going to be our race leader down to the corner. There's the 14 in the middle, Joey. Oh my goodness, we're racing it down to the end of stage number 1.
Gary Sack is starting to push Hayes Booth on the low line, and then it's Keaton Swain in that white truck. But here comes the number 14. He's the lead truck on the middle groove. The 14 is Nate Stewart. He's being pushed by Blake Reynolds. So really it's Hayes Booth and also Nate Stewart. Those are your 2 lead cars between the 2 lanes right now. And once again, working lap 13, we end stage 1 at the end of lap 15. Just a couple more laps to go, but I thought things were going to stay pretty calm. Will, things are very busy up front for the end of this stage.
Very, very busy indeed, Joey. We saw what just happened to Barrett Podium. He was leading the race. Now he's all the way down to the 8th position. These drivers know this is the end of the stage. They're shooting gaps. They're going 3 wide. They're going to the middle lane all by themselves. They don't care right now. They just want to get to the top of this grid. We see a lot of moving parts past these leaders as well as we race it across the line. We're still side by side heading down to corner number 1. We have Stewart and Booth inside, outside lane, side by side right now. We are racing it down. 1 lap to go here in stage number 1.
Once again, here in turns 1 and 2, we're going to see Hayes Booth in the lower line. It looks like we have a yellow flag on the racetrack. It's a little bit further back in the pack. I think I'm seeing maybe Nathan Ramsey. Connor Berry is having an issue. Connor Berry is the one stopped on the racetrack. Oh no, and it looks like got quite a bit of damage on that number 2 machine. Going to take a look at what exactly happens. He's all the way up driver's right on the racetrack. That blue truck. Looks like the 24 was just trying to get down into the corner and just misjudged that gap and got up into the left rear of Connor Berry. Connor didn't have anything wrong he was doing. I just think it was a little bit of a racing incident there.
You know, we'll check it out once again here at Maconi Entertainment. Hear this replay. Yeah, I would have to agree with you there, Joey. Just a racing incident. You know, when you go 3 wide like that, it's a very sketchy situation for everybody involved, whether you're on the inside lane, outside lane. You see it right here once again. The 24 truck's going to be on the middle right here. We're going to watch from another point of view, a courtside seat, if you will.
Yeah, and Will, I'm going to jump in here. You're right. It's 3 wide, which is tough at Daytona, but it's also arrow washed from that middle truck. He was following right in the tire tracks of the other truck, and he just couldn't turn. I guarantee you he was trying to turn to stay off of Connor Berry, but the truck just had no front grip and just washed straight up into the number 2.
Exactly, and that's what I like to call it. I just mentioned just a little while ago, that danger zone lane. You get stuck in that danger zone lane. It's almost like a tug of war, Joe. You just mentioned it there. You know, the air pulls you from right to left, right to left. you basically have no control of your truck or car in that situation. You're stuck. And once you start to get loose, there's really nothing you can do except for bounce off the car on the inside, bounce off the car on the outside, unless you try to let off. And in that situation, the 24 couldn't let off in the middle lane. He had somebody behind him as well. And once you start to lose control of that truck, Joey, you have no control. You just let it go. In that situation, he unfortunately clicks 3 other drivers.
Well, we have a difference in strategy out on the racetrack. Looks like we have some cars coming down pit lane, some trucks opting to stay out. I'm looking to see Blake Reynolds, Nate Stewart, Oliver Golding, as well as Joey Masevich, Gary Sack, Sean Williams, Eric Whitner, Paul Mikulajic, Brian Toller, Matthew Jarrett, Troy Nissen, and Zachary Drapkin. It looks like, yeah, about half the field has decided to come down, and I think most importantly, it looks like all of those trucks with damage are going to be coming down, and this is officially going to be the end of Stage 1. We got that call under yellow flag, so Stage 1 does end under yellow flag with Hayes Booth, your official Stage 1 winner.
And it looks like the top 7 trucks on the racetrack are going to stay out here, Joey. So what we were talking about there in those pit strategies, looks like these guys are going to try to push it just a little bit more, maybe to the end of stage number 2, get those final pit stops out of the way, and then push it all the way to the end of this race.
Getting some more great onboard shots here. That is Hayes Booth once again, just kind of hanging out in the lead. And something to notice about the rules of this series is that they do run 65% fuel capacity. Now, I haven't done a full green flag run of full fuel capacity in these trucks at Daytona, and I think that I'm not sure how long it'll last, but given that Stage 2 is still relatively short, I would assume that these top 7 trucks that stayed out are banking on trying to stretch it all the way to the end of Stage 2.
It looks like we have the top of the grid now heading down pit road. So it looks like a little change of heart from those leaders on the racetrack. It looks like everybody's going to head down pit road now.
Bit of an interesting strategy call with how all of this is working out. I'd be curious to see how it all plays out here. And once again, you know, Jeff is going to have a few words with me, as well as Connor Berry after this one. I think it was Nate Stewart that actually won that last stage there, and I'm just totally blowing it tonight, aren't I, Will?
No, Joey. It's the first race of the season in this series, in this league. The trucks, the track, everything. For us, you know, we're making mistakes. We're nervous about the start of the season. You know, it's the drivers as well. These drivers haven't raced with these guys. You might have raced with some of them in different leagues, different series, you know, different cars maybe. But for a lot of these guys are different competitors, brand new competitors, brand new ways of racing there. And Joey, we saw at the end of stage number 1, which we thought was going to be a lot more calm, cool, and collected. We had drivers shooting the gap by themselves, going 3 wide, you know, just keeping it cool, going out, you know, inside lane to outside lane with no hesitation. So we're seeing a lot of new things, a lot of things that are standing out for us as broadcasters. So I can only imagine how these drivers are feeling to kick off this season.
Well, thanks for making me feel better over here. Definitely boosts my spirits over here. That's why we got you in the booth with me, Will. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Of course, it's a new year, a new us, new broadcast, new series. So we'll kick it off right.
Yeah, well, to catch everybody up, we have officially ended stage 1. I see maybe 1 or 2 straggling trucks to come back down pit road, maybe fill it up with fuel one more time, and I don't blame them, because it looks like pace car lights are going out. We're going to be going green this time by, so if you're further back in the field, why not come down here, get a full tank of gas, and that just means less fuel that you're going to have to take at that next stop. But while those trucks are getting full of fuel, we're going to be lining up 2 by 2 to get going on what will be lap 19 of 60 for this restart.
And I believe, Joey, stage number 2 will end at lap 35. So it looks like we're going to have just shy of about 15 laps to go here in stage number 2 when this green flag flies. So another high pace, high anxiety stage there, Joey. You don't have the luxury of thinking, okay, I got 80 laps, I got 90 laps to kind of keep it cool. Even a 75 laps is a little bit more of a stretch. Only 15 laps to go in the stage. You really have to fast forward everything you were thinking about there during this race to try to implement everything. And you saw it there, stage number 1. Those drivers held nothing back there to end the stage. So I'm very excited to see what we're going to see here in stage number 2 with only 15 laps to go on the stage.
Yeah, and if you remember, stage 1 was 15 laps. We got cut short just a little bit based off of that yellow flag, but should be relatively about the same distance. We're going to see if we'll have more yellow flags this time. Maybe it'll stay green flag throughout, and then pit strategies will come into play, but I would assume that every single one of these trucks that has come down and taken fuel, they should have no problems to make it to the end of this stage, as it looks like the pace car has once again pulled down into pit road. And the 66 of Blake Reynolds is hard on the gas, actually has a great jump. Wondering if Nate Stewart is going to jump down to that bottom line, but actually both leaders stay in their respective lower and middle grooves. And then it looks like Eric Whitner is going to be the 3rd car in line. Looks like Blake Reynolds shifted up to try to catch that draft on the top groove. And the 38 of Brian Toller, he's the white car all the way down on the bottom.
Yeah, the 66 of Reynolds with another crazy move there. Shout out to Kid Cudi because he was all solo dolo by himself there on that restart. He figured that out quick though. As he shot up to the top side, we have the 14 truck that's out of line there, off the track, hitting the apron. See if he can keep it cool. He does. Going to lose a lot of positions though on the racetrack. He is now sideways down the apron. He's going to save it. He does, Joey. No caution flag though, as a single truck incident. He's just going to follow right back in the line, lose a lot of positions in the process.
Yes, lose a lot of positions, but oh my gosh, we are going to have to queue up a replay and watch the save of the century from Nate Stewart in the number 14 car, because he was way out in front of this pack. He got a bad bump as he shifted down towards the bottom lane, and holy smokes, look at this, in front of the entire field on the apron, half up the apron, trying to keep it down on the bottom of the racetrack. And how he's able to keep it in the lower lane out of all of this, I have no idea.
As Dory once said in Finding Nemo, you just gotta keep swimming, swimming, swimming. And that's what the 14 truck did right there. He kept his cool. He knew the entire field was coming by him there as he was getting loose and sideways. No contact made. He's gonna lose about 27 positions in the process, going from 2nd down to 28th there. But I think we haven't seen the last of that 14 truck. But back up to the leaders right now. We have Whitner back up there in the mix. We have the 5 of Booth, and Reynolds went from 1st to about 4th right there, Joey, when we took that short break to check out what happened there to the 14 truck. Man, we have a side-by-side battle down the front stretch right now. These drivers are very antsy, though, Joey. If you can see, they are not content with riding right behind somebody. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of give and take for those air pockets.
It's Keaton Swain giving the push to Eric Whitner up front in that top groove. I mentioned Keaton Swain earlier with that very aggressive move, 3 wide up the middle, and Keaton is one of the fastest off-road racers in the service, and he's definitely adapting to these trucks very well. As it looks like the 79 of Barrett Polamus trying that 3rd groove, and it looks like we've got action down on the bottom groove. We've got 2 cars turned around. I think that's probably going to be a yellow flag on the racetrack. No, we stay green, as it looks like it only affected 1 or 2 cars.
Yeah, those trucks will stay off the racetrack right now. They're not going to be happy with one another because they looked like they double tapped each other there. They made contact. They made contact again as they were going off the track with one another. We'll check it out here on Maconi Entertainment replay. See what happens. The 19 truck's going to get stuck in that danger zone lane, as I like to say. I think the 21's going to make contact with the 19. 19 comes out, makes contact again. That's the 38, excuse me there. Going to make contact with him on the apron. So they make contact with each other about 3 times there on the racetrack, Joey.
Yeah, now we officially have the yellow flag on the racetrack. It looks like we got problems with Chris Dickinson out there, as well as Lee Norton. A few trucks being turned around. What is coming out of turn 4 and onto the tri-oval. As always, the bearded sim racer, Ryan Bauer, I'm so happy he's working the controls because he's always on top of this stuff. Look at this, just 3 wide. Ooh, actually looks like a little bit of net code there is how the trucks jumped with that damage model, but oh no. I'm counting probably 5 trucks that were involved in that one.
Yeah, Joey, we're slowly but surely creeping up this halfway mark. So for some of these drivers, it might be time to pull out that get out of jail free card right now, which is that fast repair. You only get one in this race here tonight, so it might be time to pull that out just to make sure your truck's back in the mix. But we'll watch it here once again. It's like just an entanglement of drivers right there, and we'll see. Nope, that truck's going to make contact as well. I gotta say, Joey, as we're watching these replays of these caution flags, a lot of these drivers are running very interesting paint schemes here tonight, bringing out all the stops here for this race, first race of the season.
Pretty impressive driving from Matthew Jarrett there to try to sneak his way through that wreck. And yeah, I agree. There's some really cool paint schemes that are being sported out there by all of these trucks, and always good to see it because it makes the broadcast look nice. You make our job easier, and you know, it doesn't always make me do better, but, you know, I'm trying over here, and it looks like we've got a few more cars headed down pit road. Looks like maybe about half and half this time, but I see out of the lead cars, looks like Oliver Golding, maybe Nate Stewart coming down. Blake Reynolds here in the 66 is getting 4 fresh tires and getting the thing filled up with gas, and I don't blame them either. This is 24 of 60. When you look at the big picture here, this isn't a bad option to stop because you could probably play a short fill on the end of lap or at the end of stage 2 for your full course yellow stop.
You could, exactly. That's a good mark right there, Joey. You could do that short fill, continue on there to the end of this race here. But what it's going to do, it's going to kind of shake up the top of this grid right now. We're not going to see the same players. Of course, the 66 of Reynolds has been up there in the mix virtually the entire race, whether the guys behind him have shifted in and out. The 66 has done a great job, especially on these restarts, to link up, stay up there in the lead. Right now we have Whitner leading the race in that 75. Swain right there in the 21 is in second. Booth in third. Barrett Polhemus in fourth. And Drapkin right there in fifth. But look at Joey Masvidich right there. Has made his way back into the mix after an early incident there in the 64. Has now shown his stuff to work back inside the top 10.
Joey Masevich there, definitely one of the biggest movers. He's gone up 8 positions, but I'm looking through the field. Now, granted, we just had some pit stops, so this might not reflect 100%, but biggest mover right now is Zachary Drapkin, up 17 positions up into the top 5. And then second biggest mover is actually Keaton Swain, up 16 positions up into the second spot. And let me tell you what, you can't do any of those moves without a good setup underneath you in that truck. And all of the competitors tonight are running on an exclusive setup being provided by Maconi Setup Shop. If you're interested in getting this setup or anything that you race, head on over to www.maconisetupshop.com, click on subscriptions, and check out all of the different cars and races that they do, and go ahead and find your favorite car, the one that you spend the most time in, download a subscription, sign up for it, put that new setup on your car, and watch your lap times drop. It really is just that easy. And Will, I don't know how much time you spend in the actual sim, but a new setup that's fast can make the world of difference in a race.
Exactly, Joey. And just from my experience broadcasting, you know, I've seen different leagues, different series, different setups, if you will. But every race that I call a Maconi Entertainment with these Maconi setups here, it's always very fast, very competitive, very linked up. We saw it there in stage number 1 here, and throughout this race, these drivers are side by side. They're very fast on the racetrack. You know, sometimes you see different setups, fixed setups, open setups, and sometimes you see drivers dominate by 30, 40 seconds in some of these races, but not in these Maconi Entertainment races or Maconi setup races. You see these drivers very close together, very fast, very competitive. Man, if you're looking for a fast setup, go check them out right now. Every time I see a post on any of those Facebook pages, iRacing leagues, anything like that, I always tag Maconi Setup Shops because I know they'll come through with a fast setup for you.
Looks like the pace car is already down. We got a green flag on the racetrack. Eric Whitner leads everybody under Barney the flagman, waving that green flag. And he's got Keaton Swain for company as the lead car on the outside lane there. He's that white number 21 truck. But The number 5 of Hayes Booth, that's been the truck to watch. He's second in line on the bottom, that black number 5. He's been one of our regular front runners, and now he's going to try to push Eric Whitner. But I tell you what, Barrett Polomus has given a great push to Keaton Swain in that outside lane.
Yeah, Barrett Polomus, a.k.a. Darth Vader, in that red and black paint scheme, is trying to make himself known in these trucks. I've seen what he can do in the next-gen cars. Now he is showing what he can do in these trucks. He's very... Oh, man, Joey, that was so close to being disastrous for those leaders as the 75 truck went from inside to top side right there. But we're 3 wide down the racetrack once again, Joey. We talked about this, how the pace and the anxiousness of this race has been at an all-time high. I am sweating up here in the booth. I can only imagine how these drivers are feeling.
Looks like it is Zachary Draken now that's going to be given the push to the 5 car on the bottom. We're riding along with Barrett Polomus. This is the 3rd car up top, and you see just... You can't really see much. We're riding along on the roof, so we have a little bit more vision, and it looks like those 2 front cars are going to go all the way down to the bottom groove, which is going to leave Barrett with clean air. Not always what you want to see when you're the lead car on the outside lane, especially going into turns 3 and 4. You want somebody to help push you, and looks like he's finally got the 77 of Paul Mikulajic now joining him up top, and Keaton Swain now giving the push to Eric Whitner on the bottom. And here's Nate Stewart. After that incident just a handful of laps ago, has found himself all the way back up. And I'm checking here, he's now in the 15th spot. But more crucially, making those moves, starting to work his way back up into the pack.
Yeah, and as that song goes, I get knocked down, I get up again. Oh, we have a big wreck right here. But the middle of the field, middle of the pack, Joey, we'll have to see who was involved in this. Hopefully it wasn't the 14 truck, as we were just mentioning. Put that commentator's curse on there, but a lot of trucks involved in this. We'll have to check out this replay here on Maconi Entertainment. Looks like the 58 is going to be involved in that. And Joey, on lap 28, I don't know. That might be very close to the end of stage number 2.
Yeah, we're going to get a replay here. We saw the 58, and this is bummer. This is just net code. I'm sorry to report on this one. This is just a simulator issue, and it's a shame that it took out so many cars, because Gary Sack, the 3rd, he was just going up the middle on the back straightaway. From what I saw, I didn't see him make any move to go up into the purple 81 truck. Now, if we watch, Gary Sack here is going to go up the racetrack, but it's actually just imaginary contact that turns it all around.
We'll see right here.
There it was. Net code between the 81 up there and Gary Sack, and unfortunately it just collected a few cars. And you know, it's something that we deal with here on iRacing. Not everything is always perfect, but we have it modeled as best as we can, and this is what these competitors have to face, is that when they get too close like that, they do run the risk of having that netcode incident.
Yeah, and Joey, I'll ask you, if you're in the position of the 81, you know, what do you say when you come across the radio? I mean, it looks like you're the truck that initiated, but then again, it's netcode all day long. It looks like the 81 here on this replay is going to hit a speed bump, essentially on the backstretch of Daytona right there. He hits an imaginary speed bump, makes contact with the 58. You know, how do you explain that to other drivers?
I think that, I mean, we've all been in the position that we've been wrecked, and we don't understand why we've been wrecked, and you want to yell and get on the radio and scream and what are you doing and call people names. But I think the most important thing is you always have to go back and review the incident before you push that radio button and yell and scream. You got to go back and look at the replay and see, and when the 81 does go back and look at the replay, he'll realize that there was no fault there. You know, it's not like Gary got up into him and took him out on purpose. He'll just realize, oh, yep, that's part of competing here on iRacing. It's just sometimes what we have to live with.
Yeah, we'll see right now as we come across this backstretch here, still under caution. Now, Joey, my question to you here, on lap 30, depending on when we go green again, do you think this is going to be the end of stage number 2, or will we have essentially a green-white-checkered to end the stage?
Well, I think based off of what we saw before, the drivers are going to get very aggressive again, so we're going to see lots of pushing. But if we do have a yellow, I think it will end stage 2 just based off of race control's decision earlier to end this first stage under yellow. And one other thing is that while we have another lap here under the pace car, I want to plug one more event that we have here on Maconi Entertainment. This is the 2023 Drivers Gauntlet. Will, I don't know if you've seen Jeff Maconi talking about this, but this is actually a really, really cool event. You know, you can enter just one or you can enter just all. You know, $10 per event or $40 gets you into everything. And as you see here, you go between Legends, late models, super late models, ARCA, NASCAR Truck, Xfinity, and then ultimately the brand new NASCAR Next Gen cars. And pretty cool mix of tracks. And as you see there, that's how it all works. There's a total of $800 being given away for all of the race wins and whatnot throughout this entire 2023 Drivers Gauntlet. And it's all being broadcasted live on Maconi Entertainment. If you have any questions at all about this event, or you want to sign up for it, go to www.maconisetupshop.com, click on event signups, and there is everything that you need to know about the Drivers Gauntlet.
Joey, I love this format here. I'm getting it good. I've seen it being posted, I've seen it being talked about, but I didn't see almost the Pokemon progression that you go from Legends, late models, super late models, ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity to the next gens. And Joey, look at that money involved too. $50, of course, for those 3 series to start off the season. Then you get into some real money. You get the Benjis involved. You get the $100 for the ARCA, $150 for the Trucks, $150 for the Xfinity, and then next gen's that Daytona, which is everybody's comfortable with, and 200 laps in there, so you have a fair shot at it. It's $250 to the winner in that event, and all you have to do is $40 for all the events or $10 per event. What a return if you end up winning that event.
Yeah, basically, if you enter everything for $40 and you take home 1 race win, you have already paid back your entry fee, and you can go get yourself a cheeseburger and a milkshake after that race win. So not too bad of a gig. And like I said, if you're interested in that Drivers Gauntlet, just go over to MaconiSetupShop.com and you can find out more info there. And looks like the pace car is now coming off of pit road and going to be getting the green flag. There's Barney holding that flag. He's going to be going green. We get the light on. We have racing once again here at Daytona International Speedway. One thing to keep an eye on here. Stage 2 ends at the end of lap 35. So we're going to have 4 laps to go here to shoot this out for the Stage 2 winner.
Yeah, very crazy already at the top of this grid. We have Whitner in the 75, went low side to high side right there. You have the 21 of Swain's right there as well, and the all-white Stormtrooper looking truck here at Daytona. Down the backstretch, we were side-by-side tandem racing. Now we're going 3 wide on the backstretch. Oh my goodness, Joey, this is going to get crazy. Heading down to corner number 3.
That's Paul Mikalogic trying out the very top groove. It worked on the back straightaway, but I think he's going to be the odd man out all the way up there in the 3rd lane with no help. All of those passes that he made are all for naught here, but looks like he's going to carry a little bit of that top side momentum. It'll be really interesting to see if anybody joins him up there, because we got to remember where start finish is. If you're able to carry that momentum on the top side, you might have a shot at crossing that line first.
Yeah, and I don't see that across all these leagues here, Joey. We don't see drivers really push that envelope too much to go way high on that high side lane there. Basically squeeze yourself against the wall, and you see what's happening right now. More drivers are starting to see that line form. See if you can form up here. Getting very little sketchy up here at the top.
Hang on, Will. We got a lap car. Oh my goodness, full course yellow. Thank the Lord, because we had a lap car on the top groove, and we have 3 wide racing approaching. I'm happy that we got that full course yellow, because we were about to see disaster at the front of the field there. And we're going to be catching up exactly with what happened here. Looks like we got the 38 truck spun around again. That's Brian Toller. He's been involved in a couple incidents so far, and going to get a replay exactly of what happens. Here he is. He's that white truck right in the middle of the screen. And oh no, actually looks like he lifted for something that was going on in front of him, and the truck behind him just didn't have the vision to see that.
You see right here what may have happened. I don't know there, Joey. Did everybody start to slow down because of the lap truck? No, because it looks like we're heading down the backstretch here on this replay. Nothing too crazy. We start to see some trucks check up there. See the 81's in the middle.
Oh, there it was.
Oh, there he is.
Yep. Looks like maybe the 14 got turned down, the 81 involved. I saw Connor Berry also involved, and man, what a night for Connor Berry in that 2 truck. It just seems like every time this yellow flag has come out, he's just been in the middle of it, and every single time so far, he hasn't been the cause.
No, and sometimes Daytona can be your best friend because everybody knows this track. You've probably raced this track 1,000 times, whether it's in iRacing, whether it's in other NASCAR video games or other video games. In that sense, Gran Turismo even threw it in there a couple of years as well, Joey. So everybody knows Daytona. You can either run really well at this track, but what I've seen over the races that I've called, if you get stuck in that middle pack, let's say the middle tier or the end of that road there, you're susceptible to incidences that may have happened that may not be your fault. And we've seen it with Connor Berry here tonight. He's just cruising along, trying to keep his lines, and unfortunately just gets entangled in incidences that he didn't really have anything to do with. And for that, man, that's just going to be a frustrating start to the season. But for Connor Berry, as you mentioned it to kick off this broadcast, with a driver with that much of experience, I'm sure we'll see that truck bounce back here as the season plays along.
I've been very fortunate with my racing career, and I've been under the Roush umbrella for 10 plus years now, and one of my friends, I've gotten to know Chris Buescher along the way, and what he mentions, what you were just saying, Will, it's called a super speedway tax. All right, sometimes you go to the super speedway and everything all works out and everything's hunky-dory, you get a trophy, you end up with a clean car, but more often than not, you have to pay the tax whenever you come to a super speedway, and tonight, Connor Berry is paying the super speedway tax.
He definitely is, and it seems like we're just throwing in more Monopoly references here. He's paying his $200 as he's pass and go every time around this track here tonight. And for the 2 of Connor Berry, of course, he's probably already used that fast repair. Looks like he's down pit road again here tonight, Joey. And you know, Talladega's like this. Charlotte can sometimes be like this as well. Daytona is definitely like this, as we've mentioned. It's always these big tracks. Indy's like this, and in some instances as well. Either you do really well, you get that trophy, as you mentioned, or you have just about the roughest day possible. And for Connor Berry, I think he falls underneath that category. But as you mentioned, for the driver that much experience, that much time behind the wheel, whether it's in iRacing or in real-time racing, I'm sure we'll see him bounce back. But I think for a lot of these drivers, though, that haven't been involved in any instances, looking at names of Barrett Paul Hemus, you look at Reynolds in the 66, you see Whitner in the 75. For those drivers up there, we've always seen instances that occur at the top of the grid. We've yet to see one yet, Joey, with 25 laps to go. But I feel like we'll have one before this race concludes.
Well, I agree with you about Connor Berry, and I mentioned that he is a champion iRacing off-road racer, but he is also a real off-road racer himself out there and has a great aspiring young career out of that young man over there. And if you're curious, always go follow Connor Berry and what he's up to, not only here in the sim world, but also in the real world. And it's also great to see essentially the gang that he's brought with him. I know that there's a lot of other off-road racers that he's brought with him that have a lot of real-world experience as well. Mentioned Nicholas Dashley, Keaton Swain, another one. I recognize a lot of these from these off-road races that I've also been able to cover, and it's great because you see the real-world competitiveness come out of these racers. And yeah, you might have some problems in the sim, but ultimately they dust themselves back off, they hit that reset button, and get back out there for more laps and to complete the race. And looks like working lap 26 to go this time. Barney once again has that green flag, and the leader is on the gas. We have a new leader, number 69, Tyler Green, out there. That is a name that we haven't mentioned at all tonight, but it is Keaton Swain up in the upper groove being pushed by Blake Reynolds right now. Seems like they have a little bit more momentum. We'll see if Tyler Green in this lower lane around the racetrack can battle it back on the bottom, but once they get to the back straightaway here, I'd expect that middle groove to start to stretch it out again.
You see the top side already building up momentum here down the backstretch here at Daytona. Heading down to corner number 3, we have Swain right there in that 21 machines. Now he's going to go low side, throw that block on the 69 of Green, try to build up the inside lane around 3 and 4. Reynolds is now on the top side by himself, leading that lane. He's being pushed by Drapkin right there in that 56 on the top side lane. You see here coming off of 4. Ooh, big overcorrection by Barrett Polhemus there. Is going to lose a little bit of speed. But what I've seen so far, Joey, these drivers know how to handle the pressure. They know how to handle the anxiety. They know how to handle the draft. I love this series so far, Joey. From what you just mentioned, the experience of these drivers in real life or sim racing, I am excited for the rest of the season as we come to the apex of 1 and 2 down the backstretch. Reynolds is leading at 66.
Another name we haven't mentioned at all tonight in the 51, third place, lead truck in the outside groove, Ashley Lyle right now, making their way up in that outside groove, being pushed by the 56 of Zachary Drapkin. Both of those are huge movers right now, looking like they went up 9 positions and 13 positions respectively, but ultimately is the 66 on the bottom lane right now that has that kind of command of our lead. But the more I look at this race, I see 5 trucks in that top groove. I've got my eye on the 4th truck in line up top, the number 5 machine. That's Hayes Booth. He's been one of our regular front runners. I've got my eye on him for the rest of the race.
Yeah, Booth has been in the mix all race long, as well as the 66, as well as Drapkin right there in the 56 and the 21 of Swain as we head down to corner number 3. These drivers have been in the mix all race long, but for Booth, oh man, that got hairy right there as we take a look at Hayes Booth inside of the cockpit, inside of that simulator. We talked about those checkered flags he has behind him there. He wants to collect one here tonight. But Joey, you got to think though, you're in kind of a compromised position right here. You're watching those guys, that 4-pack in front of you. You need to find a partner. You need to find a way around these guys. You can try to squeeze yourself against that topside wall if you can, or you can keep this position right here, ride it out for a few more laps, and then find your opportunity. But for Hayes, he needs to really slide to where that 56 truck is or the 21 is to really have a shot at the end of this.
Looks like a lap car is going to get down off of the racetrack. I believe that was the 34 Anthony Marsh. Great heads-up driving from him. Get down off of the groove, out of the way of these leaders, this big pack coming by. But Blake Reynolds, Ashley Lyle, neck and neck as they go through turns 3 and 4. And I really liked riding on board with Hayes Booth there. The reason why I've got my eye on him so far is because I think he's been one of the smoothest drivers that I've seen out there on the racetrack. He seems very comfortable in his car. He seems very comfortable approaching the truck in front of him. And if you look right here, he actually never goes up and pushes. He's got a great sense of where his truck is. And you see the truck in front. Look at how much it's moving around. You see it moving back and forth, left and right. He's trying to find the groove, but look at how smooth Hayes Booth is here as he just approaches the back bumper. Ooh. Now he's going to take a look 3 wide. He's going to push the issue, and oh no, there's not room there. Oh, and we have disaster on the back straightaway heading into 3. This is the big one in front of the entire field.
Oh my goodness there, Joey. We saw Hayes. You talked about how calm, cool, and collected he was. He saw that opportunity to shoot that gap. We've seen it all race long. Drivers have shot the gap all night. We'll see it right here on this Maconi Entertainment replay. You see Hayes going to go right to the middle there. You see our leader is going to drop down there as well. And you see the 56 is going to come down just enough to clip that 5. And you just see the dominoes fall after that.
Yeah, a really unfortunate incident. And I know I was giving Hayes so much credit there. And he went 3 wide. That top groove went all the way up to the upper lane, and then as soon as it went down into turn 3, it looked like the 56 actually started to come back down the racetrack. Now, you could argue that the 5 might have lifted, or he should have lifted there, but he was in the middle of the racetrack. He was already set in his groove, and riding on board here with looks like a car just being able to squeak by. You see how quickly it happens. That's Sean Williams there in the 89. Great driving and avoidance from him.
It very much was there in the 89 machine. We talked about it though, Joey. We were going to see an incident happen at the top of the grid. I believe Hayes was about the 4th or 5th position there. He was trying to follow the leader, shoot that gap through. I don't think a situation there where he could have let off, as you mentioned there, Joey. I think he was just trying to ride that line, follow that draft through, as we've seen a couple other trucks pull off here tonight. But it's just a situation where sometimes when you're on that top side lane, you can't always see the car coming to your inside. By the time you see it, it's already going by you. It's already half the truck by. For the 56, he may have not known that Hayes was coming there to the inside because you saw the 56 come down, and once he did that, he realized, uh-oh, I just caused something there. As Hayes Booth got clipped, he hit the car to his inside that danger zone lane, and that just caused another caution here with 18 laps to go.
And we could sit here and armchair quarterback it, and race control is part of one of my jobs, and so I analyze incidents like this all the time. And yeah, I just think that ultimately the 56, you look at the lanes, the 56 came down from the top lane into the middle lane, but once again, you could argue that the 5 should have lifted and left room, but that's for all of the race control people to sort it out. We're only here to call the action on the racetrack, and looks like everybody came down pit road that last time under the yellow flag, and so that resets the field. The 66, Blake Reynolds currently out front, Nicholas Dashley in the second place, Ashley Lyle there in third, and Eric Whitner fourth, Tyler Green rounding out the top 5. I was a little bit worried for Tyler Green's strategy because he did not pit under that stage 2 finish yellow flag. He stayed out, which netted him the track position. There was no way he was going to make it to the end of the race, but guess what? There was a yellow flag that came out. Everybody came back down. Now he is looking pretty good out there in the top 5.
Yeah, and you look at that top 5, Joey, the only name that really has been up there consistently here tonight is the 66 of Reynolds. We saw Whitner in the 75 kind of mix in and out of the top 5. But for Reynolds to be able to maintain the top of the grid throughout tonight's race, going from low side, high side, even on some of these restarts, he gets left on an island all by himself. He finds a way, though, on the entry of 1 and 2 to get high, to link up with that top side lane so he doesn't lose a lot of positions. I'm really impressed with what the 66 has done here tonight, but with 17 laps to go, all that really goes out the window unless you get the job done here at the end of this race.
So we've got the pace car lights out. We will be going green this next time by with 16 laps to go. And just to set it up for everybody, we're seeing some tremendous racers out here, but the 66 of Blake Reynolds, one of the fastest cars on the service, and I'm looking almost an I-rating of 8,000. 7,978 I rating in that 66 machine. So he certainly is plenty comfortable out there around Daytona in the truck and doing this. And then another big one I'm seeing down here, Nate Stewart. He was one of our early front runners, I rating of 6,500. But wow, we got Shane Williamson, 5,200. Joey Masevich, 5,000 plus. There's some crazy fast sim racers out here.
Yeah, and you talked about it, Joey. You touched on it just a little while ago. We have iRacing superstars, iRacing experienced drivers, but then we also have drivers that do real life racing as well mixed in this series with a lot of experience behind the wheel in real life. So this series has got a field of very competitive drivers, and the green flag is now out here to end this race with 17 laps to go.
Looks like a pretty unorganized start from the bottom lane, and because of that, you see Blake Reynolds just kind of searching around saying, hey, where's the closest friend going to come from? And right now it looks like it's going to be the 51 of Ashley Lyle going up there to give some help to the 66. Very good heads-up driving from that 51, not to just go up there and ram into the back bumper. Get up in there nicely and then start to push the cars. Looks like we already have 3 wide down the back straight. That's the 23 of Nicholas Dashley all the way up top. He's going to be the truck that's kind of left out to dry up there, and it looks like it is the 75 of Eric Whitner is now the lead truck on the outside, but you see there's 4 or 5 trucks on the bottom groove that have the lead.
Yeah, right now as we head down across the start-finish line right now. We get 15 laps to go here from Daytona. Reynolds in that 66 going to take us down to corner number 1 as our race leader. But Joey, that topside lane seemed to build a little bit more momentum there, led by Mr. Green there in that 69 truck and that Monster Energy machine, trying to build some momentum there on that topside lane. But right now, as we head down the backstretch, so Reynolds in that 66 is leading the way.
Pretty impressed with Keaton Swain. He's definitely calmed things down from what I saw earlier in the race. And what that tells me is that he's got his notepad out. He's taking notes. He says, all right, in order for me to go fast, I need to calm down. And just as I say that, he kind of hits the apron a little bit there in 3 and 4, bounces up the racetrack, but once again, keeps it nice, calm, and cool and collected. It's actually the 2 trucks that are out in front of him that aren't being linked up very well. I'm looking actually at Tyler Green. He's got a great position in that outside groove.
Yeah, right now the outside groove, although doesn't have the amount of trucks as the inside groove, is still holding pace right there with the inside. Keep an eye out for any of those topside drivers trying to make their way to the inside groove. What a big move out of Lyle on that 51 truck, though, to go low side. About the 3rd car in that low side lane to go high side, try to link up with Mr. Green. That 69 truck as Green gets loose, but he saves it. No, he doesn't, as we have contact on the apex of 3 and 4.
Yeah, we got another big wreck back here in 3 and 4, and once again that started near the front of the pack. It's still happening as we exit turn 4 between the 15 and another truck, another purple truck, and I actually think the big winner out of this might be the number 5 of Hayes Booth, as it looks like he went all the way down into the grass to avoid this one.
Yeah, we were keeping an eye on Hayes Booth, though. He's making his way up through the grid, and we'll see right there. It looks like the 56 truck, 51, Barrett Paulhemus is going to be involved in that as well. Just looks like the domino effect there, Joey. We'll have to see what happened here. Of course, this is the top of the grid once again. Ooh, a big run through the middle there. And you see, I'm trying to see what number that was there, Joey, but a big run through the middle just caused another domino effect.
Yeah, you know, it was Eric Whitner that got into the back of Tyler Green. There was the push. You see it right there, and I don't know if it was a bad push, but it sent Tyler Green up to the outside of the racetrack, and Tyler had to save it. Unfortunately, came back down across the racetrack, and that's really what collected everybody.
And you'll see right here, this is Hayes Booth in the 5s and made contact with the truck in front of him there. That's the 14. Hayes is going to slide. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Joey goes a little off-road racing there in that 5 truck. We've talked about the off-roading experience of these drivers here tonight. He goes off-road into the grass and put himself in a great position for the end of this race.
Yeah, most crucially is he did not make contact with anybody, any wall, or anything. And right now, it actually looks like the majority of the field is going to come down to pit road. I would expect that they are just taking probably the last set of tires that they have available to them. Or if any of these cars have any sort of small cosmetic damage from any of these wrecks, it's important to go and get that fixed at such a high-speed, aerodynamic-dependent racetrack.
It really is. You need to get as much damage fixed as possible from some of these drivers. They may have been sitting on that fast repair for this moment right now. We've seen 2 instances happen inside the top 10. So a lot of these drivers have the speed. They have the advantage here on the racetrack. But of course, Joey, we talked about it earlier in this broadcast. You know, speaking of Connor Berry, you get wrapped up in an unfortunate incident, especially at the end of this race, 12 laps to go. You've been racing it down for about an hour or so now. You don't want to let it go all out of the window. You got that fast repair, you go ahead and use it, get that truck back out there, show that speed once again. You know, I'm looking at names at Barrett Paulhemus. One name that stands out for me, a truck that's been very fast all night inside the top 10, gets entangled in that mess right there, uses that fast repair, now he's back out on the track inside the top 10.
Yeah, and I'm looking at trucks here, and I see Connor Berry back out on the racetrack. You know, there's I'm really impressed with all of the competitors tonight, because there are trucks that are laps down, but nobody from what I've seen has left the session. So I believe we still have all 30 competitors still out there on the racetrack. We should be getting lights out on the pace car this time by, but from what I see here, looks like Oliver Golding should cross. No, Oliver's going to be the first car 1 lap down. So we have top 21 cars all on the lead lap right now.
Boy, and that's an excellent point there, Joey. And I think the first race of the season can be a mixed bag, if you will. There, for a lot of these drivers, it's a chance to show your stuff, be very confident in your abilities. Race it down, win the race, get a top 10 finish, top 5 finish for a lot of these guys. But for other guys, it's a learning experience. You can learn from this race. You can learn what your other competitors do. You can learn what not to do next week. So that's probably why we see so many trucks back on the track here tonight, to see what they can learn from a race from Daytona.
Well, we're exiting turn 2 with the pace car lights out, so we're going to be going green with 10 laps to go. And now I'm going through the field right here and just looking at all of these trucks, and something to notice here. Zachary Drapkin has some damage on the left rear of his 56 truck. Eric Whitner has damage on the right rear of his number 75 truck. Ashley Lyle looks clean. Keaton Swain looks clean. Blake Reynolds looks clean. So I, once again, sound like a broken record. I'm going to keep my eye on the number 5 of Hayes Booth out there. He's lined up the 3rd truck in the outside lane. That's who I've really got my eye on to get around those 2 trucks with damage and then probably start to push Keaton Swain, who's one of the most aggressive drivers tonight.
And you really have to start that strategy off quick, fast, and in a hurry once that green flag drops. Because once that green flag drops, we'll have 10 laps to go here in this regular season kickoff event. But here we go, Joey. The green flag is in the air once again, as Reynolds in that 66 will take us down into quarter number 1 as our race leader.
Looks like Drapkin does not get a very good start on the bottom groove. Yeah, he's definitely got some issues on accelerating. That's negatively affecting Nicholas Dashley right now. He's just kind of hanging out in the back, and it looks like Keaton Swain up front is going to move to the top groove around the 51. Reynolds is trying to figure out where to go, and it looks like a little bit of a shove from the 5 into Swain, got into the 51, but all of the trucks are still pointed the right way. Here we go, Hayes Booth going around the outside, and he's got help from behind for the lead.
There goes Hayes Booth. He's going to inch in front of the 66 Reynolds on the inside. 66 is all by himself. There's going to have a little bit of help now after that incident. They're off the corner. Goodness, big wreck off of 4. Oh my goodness, Joey, we have trucks in the air spinning sideways. We have helicopters on the front stretch right now. A big wreck with 9 laps to go.
Yes, another just unfortunate sim incident here. Looks like Shane Williamson got into the left rear of the 51 of Ashley Lyle, but I'm not sure if there's any actual contact here, if it was. Yeah, you see just Shane Williamson come down the racetrack and it just into the 51, and that turns the 51 up into the field.
Oh my goodness. And for Lyle inside of that 51, done a great job all night to stay inside the top 10. We saw after the first stage has really made their way up inside that grid. I think the 51 might be okay in that situation though, Joey, but I mentioned it, about the halfway point of this race, we were kind of waiting to see what would happen at the top of this grid. And now the past 3 cautions have all been wrecks inside of the top 15. That's how crazy this race is playing out with 9 laps to go. But the one driver that seems to be okay with everything that's happening behind him is Reynolds in that 66. You saw it there. You saw trucks getting loose, banging off each other. The 66 didn't care. Even if he was by himself on the inside lane, he still found a way to get to the top side, keep his position. Really impressive how he's able to keep his cool with everything that's happening behind him.
Yeah, it looks like we've got some competitors coming down pit road here, and gonna have a little bit before we go back green to end this race. And tonight's race is sponsored by Maconi Setup Shop. If you're curious about learning more, take a learn and listen.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world trucks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, covering the eStockCar World Series, a 15 race series in these NASCAR trucks. And tonight is round one, coming at you live from Daytona International Speedway. These competitors are having a 60-lap race tonight, working 8 laps to go under yellow flag here. And had some great racing tonight. You just saw a commercial from Maconi Setup Shop. If you're interested at all about that stuff, head on over to that website, figure it out. And also, click on that Maconi Entertainment tab, because this race is being brought to you by Maconi Entertainment. If you're curious about getting your own iRacing races or leagues being broadcast up here, head over to that website, click on that tab, fill out the info, and Jeff will get back to you and figure out a way that we can get you up here and on the big screen, if you will. It's always nice to be able to share the races with your friends and go back and have a good time with everybody. And looks like we do have the pace car lights out finally, Will. We're going to be going back to green with 6 laps to go. A pretty quick shootout, but it's not the only shootout we've seen tonight. We've seen something similar to end stage 1 and stage 2.
Ooh, it's been crazy all night long. Joey, if it doesn't matter if it's stage number 1, stage number 2, lap 30, lap 40, it doesn't matter here tonight. These drivers have been pushing the envelope all night long, and I expect to see nothing less here to end this race from Daytona.
Looking at the picture of the grid right now, it is the number 5, Hayes Booth, leading the way. He is going to be lined up alongside Gary Sack III. He's going to be the truck on the outside lane. Then you've got Blake Reynolds in that orange 66 on the bottom. Behind him, next to him is Barrett Polomus in the 4th place position. And then Brady Price there in the 24, a name that we haven't mentioned much tonight. We'll have to keep an eye on that 24, but pace car is about to dive off of pit road once again, and something that I'm noticing, Blake Reynolds lined up behind Hayes Booth could be a very fast combination in front of this field. This has been 2 of the most consistent drivers, and we're back to green flag racing, and just like that, Blake Reynolds tucked up right on the back bumper of Hayes Booth, and it looks like Barrett Polomus has already ditched the top groove to join him on the bottom.
Yeah, these 4 drivers are separated from the rest of the field. The rest of the field behind them for about 5th place on back are shifting and sliding for position. Right now, as we come off of quarter number 2, still Hayes Booth is leading the way in the 5 truck. There goes Reynolds in the 66, just as you called it, Joey. The 66 has now launched. A little shake and bake action there out of the 66. Not going to be enough, though, as he's going to get pushed. Hayes Booth is from Barrett Polomus in that 79. As we come off to the apex of 3 and 4 right now, Hayes Booth is leading the way, but we are 3 wide for a second behind the 5 truck.
The 51 has the red mist just pushed that truck all the way up to the front, and now we have 3 wide racing for the race finish here as we're working 5 laps to go. That's Blake Reynolds being pushed by Gary Sack out front. Then you got the 89 of Sean Williams. He's the purple truck all the way up top in that top groove, but right now it looks like we got 4 or 5 cars lined up on the bottom, 3 cars lined up on the top, and just as I say that, Hayes Booth moves up to the middle groove, goes around Gary Sack using the push from Keaton Swain, and now he's linked up with our leader, Blake Reynolds, on the bottom groove. These 2, like I said, have been 2 of the fastest trucks all night.
Yeah, the 66 truck is looking like Muhammad Ali out here. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, the way he is bobbing and weaving inside, outside, middle lane, blocking everything coming at him at the top of the grid, as he is our race leader down to the corner right now, but he's got some competition behind him. Hayes Booth in that 5 truck is trying to get around him. We got the 58 on the outside right there. That's Sack. You have the 21 of Swine right there, as well as things are getting crazy with 4 laps to go as we head down to corner number 3.
Here comes the 15 of Shane Williamson, bringing some buddies to push Keaton Swain and Gary Sack in that top group. Gary makes an aggressive block to shift down to the bottom lane. It ends up working out. And now Blake Reynolds says, all right, if you want to be pushed, I ain't letting off of the gas right now. I'll push you all the way around turns 3 and 4. Now Hayes Booth is going to take a look at the momentum through the middle groove, and he's got push from Keaton Swain in that 21. Gary Sack comes up to block that top group. He doesn't want the momentum coming up alongside of him, going in turns 1 and 2. And now we got 3 cars lined up in that top groove. The 51 of Ashley Lyle joins the party. I expect this top groove to have some good momentum down the back straightaway.
Yeah, as we head down to corner number 3, there goes Sack to the outside. He's going to throw the block on Hayes Booth. That's going to open the door for the 66. There's contact right there on the entry of 3. You see the 58 of Sack's going to be involved. I think Hayes Booth may have got some damage as well. Man, Joey, we saw this coming, though, the way this was playing out here towards the end. It's a shame somebody's going to get the crap end of the stick at the end of this race, but we're going to have quite the end here. It's going to watch the replay here at Maconi Entertainment. See the 58 is going to get pushed by Hayes Booth in the 5. He's not going to be comfortable with that. See, the 66 is going to get entangled as well, but it looks like the only driver that's going to get the worst of it there is the 58. You saw that 59 go by as well. That's Sean Williams. Man, what an end to this race.
Yeah, you know, when you play with fire like that, it's bound to happen that eventually you're going to get a bad push. And, you know, it's the end of a race. We've been racing 55 plus laps here at Daytona International Speedway. And in order to win at Daytona, you're going to have to throw blocks. You're going to have to be able to make moves that probably aren't the best moves. And unfortunately, Gary Sack was very aggressive throughout this entire race. Really in the last 5 laps was switching lanes, being able to block the top, block the bottom. And you see him go from the lower groove to the top groove. And let me tell you, Hayes Booth had a head of steam. And when Sack came up there, he just got shoved right out of the way.
And, you know, I don't mean to spotlight Reynolds again in that 66, but it's that timing issue, Joey. You know, you can do that. You can bounce from inside, outside of the middle lane. You can throw blocks. You can move around. But you just have to time it perfectly there. We saw it right there. Sack was trying to do the exact thing we saw from the 66 all night long. Trying to hold position, trying to block for position, but just didn't time it right. Sometimes it's okay to lose a position just to get it back, maybe further on down the race. But in that situation, he tried to be a little bit too aggressive, made contact. In that situation, though, Joe, we saw it there on the replay. Once Sack got loose and started to have his issues, the rest of the field basically split in 2, avoided him completely, and there was only a couple other trucks that got involved.
It's the super speedway tax, man. You know, you're going to have to pay it every now and then, and a lot of people definitely paid it right there. And you know what it reminds me of is if you watched the dual races this year. It was the brand new car, and everybody was excited. How are these cars going to race? And Joey Logano is one of the best super speedway racers out there. Well, he got up front, he threw some blocks, and he threw a late block and got wrecked, you know, and it just reminds me exactly of what was happening here. Gary Sack III was out front. He was leading the way. He was throwing blocks, and he was doing what he needed to do to lead the race, and eventually it got caught up with them.
Exactly, Joey, and you look at historically in NASCAR too, you know, one driver to spotlight that paid the tax for a lot of years was Dale Earnhardt at this track. You know, a driver that would come out every time they took the track here in February, would dominate most of these races, always had bad luck until about 1998 is when he finally won his first Daytona 500. worked out well for my family. He had unfortunate on 3 and 4 blew a tire. My grandfather's team won the race in 1990, but then if you look back on the history of each Daytona 500 that Dale Earnhardt would run, he would always have to pay that tax throughout the years. And finally in 1998, he had paid all of his taxes, all of his W-2s were filed, and he finally got his ring at the end of that race. And you know, Joey, we've seen it here all night long. You've seen these drivers that have dominated at the top of the grid, race very strong throughout, and just get tangled up here at the end of these races. But it's unfortunate, but I think what we're going to see here in this green-white-checkered is a heck of a finish, and some of these drivers have used those fast repairs, they have overcome adversity, and now it's time to take that checkered flag.
I want to mention a few names here under the yellow flag because they're names that we either haven't mentioned at all or not very much. Now, the 51 has become more of a regular player in the last half of the race, but look at second place. Zach Wheeler, the number 20 machine. Let me tell you a little story about Zach Wheeler. Today, he started in the 30th place, dead last. He is up 28 positions all the way up and making this restart, this green-white checker restart, leading that outside lane. You also have Nate Stewart in that 14 car. He was one of our early front runners with lots of speed. Watch out for him. He's in the number 14 machine, lined up second car, bottom lane. Two more, Troy Nissen, haven't said his name at all, lined up in the 4th place, and Christopher Fotka there in the top 5. Great to see more new names find their way all the way up into the top 5 here, and looks like we've got 3 green-white checkered attempts. Ashley Lyle in the 51 patiently waiting is now on the gas. Now we've got the green flag back in the air at Daytona International Speedway. We immediately see the number 66 of Blake Reynolds go up to the outside. The 19 makes a little bit of side-to-side contact with another car, and we've already got yellow flag on the racetrack before we enter turn 1.
Oh my goodness, that's Hayes Booth and that 5 truck right there involved in that. I saw it briefly as we entered into corner number 1. Looks like that situation resolved itself, but then it was just the domino effect of other trucks behind him. Ooh, Joey, looks like a bit of net code there as well between the 19 and the 5 truck. We'll see it right here as the 5 is going to come up to the side. You see the 19. Yeah, it's a little bit of net code as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put it on the 19. Troy Nissen there. He was one of the names that I mentioned, and he let Blake Reynolds go to the outside, but there was a car lined up directly behind Blake Reynolds, and he just came straight up into Hayes Booth like he wasn't there, and then he went right up into him again.
Yeah, a little bit of a double tap action there, a double tap that you don't want to see here in iRacing. And boy, Joey, as we take our breath here, we have our first green-white checkered attempt out of the way. We're going to have 2 more to go to end this race from Daytona. It's almost like a race of nutrition here. Is the last truck standing here. We look at the top of this grid here. You know, you talked about the driver that was right on the outside there, starting the 30th position. Looks like he had the cleanest truck of all the other drivers up there. We've seen racing marks, scrapes, we've seen back bumpers dented in. All these drivers inside of the top 10, top 5 especially have damage on their trucks. So we'll see which prettiest truck will be in the victory lane at the end of this.
Yeah, which prettiest truck indeed. I apologize. I've got my golden retriever tangled up in headphone cords underneath my desk that I'm trying to set free right now. But looks like, yes, we will have another green-white checkered attempt. And I'm looking at the number 19 truck, Troy Nissen. He's got heavy damage all over that truck, the front end, the side of it. So not the best of days for Troy. He is up 12 positions from his starting spot of 20th place, but we'll see if he can hang on to that. And just trying to set the picture of the grid again. Looks like the one thing that has stayed consistent, Will, and I would say really in the last 15 laps, ever since they had the incident, the 51 Ashley Lyle has been consistent at the front.
Oh yeah, I'm just about to mention that as well, Joey. you've seen Ashley just really kind of work their way through this field. Everything that's occurred, all the instances that we've seen inside the top 5, top 10, with these cautions that have been flying, trucks going sideways, seen helicopters down the front stretch as well. Lyle has really kept their cool at the top of this grid. Now, through everything, is now leading this race on the second attempt of the green-white-checkered in a perfect position to take this checkered flag in the first race of the season. And what a job it would be to avoid everything that's occurred throughout the end of this race, put that truck in victory lane. But Joey, we can't all but give the checkered flag to him because we see some of the names behind that driver. We know we look at the 66 of Reynolds is now back in the mix as well. You talked about Wheeler, who has a very fast truck coming from 30th, now inside the top 3. But for some of these other drivers, as you mentioned, Joey, there's a lot of damage on these trucks. So we see which drivers can overcome that damage, get that speed going once again, and put anything on Lyle at the top of this grid. Or Lyle can basically coast, find that partner to work with, and take that checkered flag at the end. And we'll see if that 66 can make that move to the front. How about you, Joey? Who are you putting your money on at the end of this?
You know, I'm looking a little bit further back. I liked Nate Stewart, but he's got lots of damage on his truck. I'm actually going to go with the 79 Barrett Polamus back there. He's about 7th right now, and he looks to have a little bit of some damage, but he's been one of the really effective cars to use the draft and use the slingshot. So from that 4th row, but most importantly, the field is in the hands of the 51. A little bit of a later restart, and they are on the gas to take the green flag under Barney the flagman. We've got 2 laps remaining here at this green-white-checkered attempt, and it looks like Nate Stewart lined up. Blake.
2 laps to go. There goes Lyle in the 51. Going to follow the 61 on the inside track right there as we come to the apex of 3 and 4. We're going to cruise around 4 now, Joey. We're going to come off of 4. We're going to get the flag. Now, whatever happens here, this race is officially in the books as Reynolds will take that white flag heading down to corner number 1.
Yeah, and it looks like Troy Nissen is joining.
Just that. I cannot wait to maybe see the replay of that last lap or the last corner here at Maconi Entertainment because, boy, that was quite a finish as there was trucks crashing behind the leaders as well.
Yeah, what a finish indeed, and I know that we're just getting everything back up and going.
There are setups, but your victories.
Well, we are officially back up and running here on Maconi Entertainment. We apologize for the little inconvenience here, but we have the official finishing results from the eStockCar World Series here at Daytona International Speedway. What a finish and victory from Ashley Lyle in the number 51 truck, taking home the checkered flag by only 2/100ths of a second at the line over Blake Reynolds there in second place. Nate Stewart, one of the early front runners, rounds out the podium there in third place. Hayes Booth, one of the fastest trucks, ends up in the top 5 in 4th spot. Christopher Fotka there in 5th place. Great run out of Christopher there. I'm seeing that up 10 positions. Also got Troy Nissen there in 6th place. Eric Whitner 7th. Lance Marsh, Zach Wheeler, and Keaton Swain coming home in the top 10, Will.
Yeah, what a finish it was here tonight. I can't wait to see the end, but we check out. Position number 11th is Darth Vader himself, that 79 truck of Barrett Paul Hemus. You see the 12th position of Joey Masvidich right there in the 64. Connor Barrett, we talked about how he was overcoming adversity, everything that he was entangled in here tonight. Joey, he's going to finish 13th, able to squeeze out a top 15 finish. Look at the 14th position of Brady Pierce. See, 15th right there is Paul. Yep, I'm not even going to try that last name just yet. First race of the season, I'll get it down pat. There goes Paul in that 77 finish in the top 15. The 16th, you see Matthew Hofter right there in the 84. 17th, going to be Tyler Green. 18th, going to be Nathan Ramsey. 19th, going to be Patrick O'Toole. And 20th, it's going to be Oliver Golding.
Yeah, they're in the 21st spot. All of these cars a lap down or further. Brian Toller, Gary Sack, Sean Williams, Shane Williamson, Anthony Marsh, Nicholas Dashley, and then everyone from here down had more problems. Zachary Drapkin, Matthew Jared, Lee Norton, and Chris Dickinson rounding out the 30 car field. Now, I know that we had a few little technical issues there at the end of the race, but wanted to show you guys exactly how this race ended and catch up with some of these replays here off of turn 4. We see Blake Reynolds and Ashley Lyle, but look at the wreck happening there behind them. But this was the race to the checkered flag, and ultimately it was the 51. Ashley Lyle squeaking it out. Look at this, 2/100ths of a second, beating it across at the line there. That's less than half a truck length is what the 51 was able to side draft up along the 66 and steal away that victory. What a win. And it looks like we have Ashley, who's going to be joining us here in the interview booth. Congratulations on taking home one of the best finishes I've ever seen here at Daytona.
Thank you. I'm pretty happy about it. I've never won at Daytona before, and I've been in iRacing for a decade. I've won in play tracks, just never here. So pretty cool stuff.
Well, Ashley, tell us a little bit more about yourself here, because we're unfamiliar with your name. Or do you mainly come from a stock car background? Where did you get introduced to this eStockCar World Series?
I mostly do stock cars and primarily on the oval side. However, I am very, very good in stock cars on road courses. It's one of my favorite combinations. Probably still don't have a candle to guys like Blake and Nate because they're pretty quick just about everywhere. But I was introduced to this league because my good friend Paul said, hey, join this league. And I joined this league.
Well, it's definitely great to have you out here. And I'll say that, we weren't really following you too much in the front half of the race. You seemed like you were kind of hanging out mid-pack. But once you had that incident there, probably about 2/3 of the way through the race, it seems like you put some red mist on, went bump drafting up along the top side of the racetrack, and then you never left the front ever from there.
Yeah, usually for plate races, my strategy is to get to the front, stay at the front, and never leave the front, right? I actually hate plate racing because of the lack of control that you have over it. And in my opinion, if you're up there, that's the most control that you possibly have. So without really knowing the people racing here, I was trying to just chill mid-pack, close to the top 10 or just barely into the top 10 at the stage breaks and just kind of play it out and see how everyone was driving. Then like the one time I actually got up into the mix, I think Hayes and somebody else got together, just kind of incidentally got turned down into me. And then coming off of 4, I think I got netcode hooked. And yeah, you're pretty right after that. After that, it was basically just blast to the front and maintain it.
Well, like I said, congratulations on taking home the victory here at round 1 on this eStockCar World Series. Before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to or say hi to?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I work from home a couple days a week, so on my next work from home day, I'm going to listen to this back while I'm half-assing my job because it's largely garbage. Sorry for swearing; it's a force of habit. I want to thanks to the admin team for putting on and Connor for putting on the entire league. As far as like first league races go, I think this is a really good one. I've been in a lot on here, and there have been a lot that have been in very, very bad shape to start, and this is not one of them, in my opinion. And as usual, I want to thank my mom. She doesn't watch this or care about iRacing in the slightest, but I like to do it.
I always give a shout out to the mom as well. So shout out to Ashley's mom out there. Hopefully she'll tune in one of these nights and watch you take home that checkered flag.
Oh, she never will. I promise you that.
Well,
also, shout out to real quick to Nate and Blake because they were very fun to race with. I haven't raced with Nate in a very long time, and it was cool to race against Blake.
Yes, well, we're going to be seeing you race a lot more with all of these competitors and hope to see you at the front at the next race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That was our race winner, Ashley Lyle, in the 51 truck. And it looks like we also have Blake Reynolds now joining us in the booth. He's standing by with Will Tiller.
Yeah, Blake, I'd have to say I gave you the moniker of Muhammad Ali, the way you were bobbing and weaving around the racetrack, blocking the inside lane, outside lane, middle lane. Somehow, some way, though, that race victory gets snatched from you at the very, very end. One of the closest finishes we've seen for a while. Take us through this race, my man. I know second place is going to feel just a tad bit disappointing the way you were able to lead that grid majority of the race. Still a great finish nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a fun race overall. Kind of a different thing. I haven't raced the truck in forever, so this was kind of cool to just join in just for fun tonight. Glad to support my buddy Connor Berry in his stock car league debut. He doesn't think it's all that great, but I think I had a lot of fun tonight. For other reasons, probably other than he's looking for. But it was still a good race and good win to Ashley. She stayed up front the whole time. It was pretty much like 5 of us up there that were consistently in the top 5 and up front leading laps. So congrats to her. And I don't know.
Yeah,
congrats
one
to
thing
you guys.
one thing that kind of stood out to us up here in the booth, Blake, is the way you were able to stay so calm and collected through everything. You know, you had drivers crashing behind you. You had a lot of incidents there. The last, I'd say, 3 or 4 cautions were incidences inside the top 15. Even were positions where you start on the restarts where you're all by yourself, you still stayed calm. You're able to get to the top side, link up with that draft. How are you able to stay so patient and calm throughout this race?
Just experience, man. It's really all it comes down to, especially at the top level of sim racing, where I've been the last couple years. And then when you get to something pretty much more average like this, it's just, stay calm, know your surroundings, know who you're racing, make your list, as some people put it in the sim race community. Yeah, and then obviously I was working with Nate Stewart tonight, so I had good help in him, and I was working good with Keaton Swain and was it Gary
Sack.
Gary Sack, yeah, that's right. I was working good with him in practice. We put down the fastest time. Yeah, so it was fun to work with him. And then, yeah, really, it just all comes down to experience, especially at these plate tracks. Just the more you do, the more comfortable you get, the smoother your hands, the more you know the situations, all that jazz.
Yeah, it looked like you handled every situation in stride. Nothing really seemed to rattle you at all. On that restart there, I mentioned here on the broadcast, you restarted on the outside lane, still made your way up there to the front, put it on Ashley there at the end of the race. Just couldn't get it done though, Blake. But with a performance like this, the way you're able to stay at the top of the grid throughout, does this give you any confidence or any momentum heading into the next race of the season? Because you got to think, starting off the season like this with a performance like this, you got to really kind of feel yourself a little bit, especially with this competition level here in this series.
Las Vegas is a good combo, I think. I'm curious to see what kind of setup will be brought from Maconi Setup Shop, obviously. Maconi Entertainment. I can't wait to run that Maconi setup. It'll be driving great. All Maconi setups drive good. I can't wait to go to Las Vegas.
That's it. Alrighty, Blake. Well, you're going to finish second here tonight. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out before we close out this interview, or any sponsors that made this race possible for you?
Dead Zone Racing somehow. Jim Beaver Esports somehow. Shout out my friend John Dragonetti. He made this paint scheme for Zane Smith. And then I just put my number on it. Classic 66 for me. Also, Jeff Maconi, don't use what I said earlier as a testimonial. I do not give my permission. That's about it.
Awesome,
and y'all,
Blake.
And y'all did good. I'm assuming. I haven't watched it.
Well, you should go back and watch. It was quite a performance from you here tonight, the way you're able to maintain that position. But we appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. Can't wait to next week.
Thank you.
That was Blake Reynolds in that 66 show. He's going to come home second here tonight, but I believe you're catching up with our third place finisher, and that's Nate Stewart.
Yeah, Nate Stewart, congratulations on taking home the final podium spot here. And I got to say, Blake Reynolds did an excellent job plugging Maconi in his interview. So we'll see how you handle all of this podium interview. But a little bit of an up and down day for you, Nate. You were definitely up at the front at the beginning, kind of disappeared through the middle of the race, but ultimately found yourself up at the end when it mattered.
Yeah, there were quite a few incidents tonight that I was involved in. The first one, I kind of threw a very, very, I guess we could call it eager block on Hayes, and luckily I was able to hang on to the truck. But yeah, I mean, I was in team speak with Blake the entire race, and me and him were just working together and having fun. So we both decided to go qualified front row, and then decided to lead laps. And then, I mean, ultimately got the stage 1 win, and then, just fell backwards and all that. And then I was trying to work with him on that last restart, but I was just a little bit too damaged, and he accidentally moved me out of the way. But I mean, after the extremely up and down night, I'll definitely take third. I'm not going to get to run too much this season due to, the college series and obligations with the Coke series. But, when I do run, I'm going to try to have as much fun as I can. And I certainly did that tonight.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it. You had quite a few moments out there tonight. You just mentioned getting shoved out of the way on the last green-white-checkered, which we definitely saw. But talk to me about what I called one of the best saves I have ever seen on iRacing. And you mentioned it. You threw the block down in front of Hayes, and you just kind of got turned, but you were able to keep the truck on the bottom lane, between the apron and the bottom lane, while you were sliding. Ultimately, you got spun around, but how did you save that thing down there?
Oh, God, I don't want to sound egotistical, but talent, I guess. I mean...
No luck out there, huh?
I mean, it was partially luck and, just knowing how to control a truck. That's really all it boils down to, is just, I mean... God, I feel like I sound egotistical when I say it, but I mean, it's talent, but also part of it was luck and, not getting run over too much. I kind of feel like I replicated Kyle Busch's save from, was it the duels back in the early 2010s? I can't remember exactly which race it was, but that's certainly what it felt like. I wish you guys could have seen my face whenever I was going through it.
And so I'm going to agree with you, Nate. It is talent, because you have to understand what the truck needs in that situation. Now, you're trying to gather it all back up in a combination of gas and brakes and counter steer, apron plus banking. But you're right. You have the experience and the know-how to do that. And like I said, one of the most amazing saves I've ever seen on iRacing. So you got to go back, watch the broadcast for that one. And before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to say hi to or say thank you to?
Well, thank you guys at Maconi Entertainment for broadcasting. I really appreciate y'all doing this and stepping up for Connor and helping him out and helping get the name of the league out there. Thanks to Blake for working with me all night. Me and him were having a lot of fun, and we're really looking forward to Vegas and brawling with each other. My sponsors, obviously myself, Apex Action Photography, and Speed Visions, Digital Chumps, Rexford Engineering, just everyone that helps supports me through and throughout. we're really looking forward to hopefully having a good run at Road to Pro again this year. I'm running as an independent, but I got some people behind me that are going to help out, and I'm really, really looking forward to this year. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in this league. I'm just going to run what I can, but I mean, I'm running this league to get familiar with the truck again, get ready for Road to Pro, and that's the main focus. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to having fun here. Yeah, that's the main thing. And thanks again to you guys for broadcasting.
Yeah, well, congratulations once again on that third place finish. We'll have to keep an eye on you, Nate Stewart, and all of your future endeavors in sim racing. And that's going to do it for tonight's race. You just watched round 1 of the eStockCar World Series here, and we want to thank tonight's sponsor, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as our broadcast partners here at Maconi Entertainment. Calling all the action tonight was myself, Joey Atterbury, alongside Will Tiller in the booth with Ryan Bauer producing. As always, we would like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in to tonight's racing action. We hope to see you January 10th for round 2 of this series here at Maconi Entertainment. They're going to be racing at Vegas in these same trucks. Until then, stay tuned to the Maconi Entertainment social media pages for upcoming broadcasts. A special shout out, of course, goes to the entire staff and working on bringing this racing action to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we wish you all a good night and a happy new year.